We're good to go. Well, again, I'll be the third one to say thank you, Marcus, for this invitation. I really do appreciate it. Loved your story around the Parkville Coffee House, and of course, Park University is our backyard as we do that. I think one of the interesting things, you don't mind going ahead and starting the slides when you can. When you talk about the Park Hill School District, I always say there is no place on Google Maps called Park Hill. There's a Park Hills, and you can find that on the eastern part of the state below St. Louis, but there's no place called Park Hill. And I think that's what makes us so unique, because it is about our community, and it's always been about community first. Many times we are called the Parkville School District, so congratulations on that. It does happen quite a bit, but we are proud of that. And I think it speaks so highly of how we work together and the expectations we have for one another. So I'm excited to share with you just some of the good news of what's been going on in Park Hill and what we're looking at the future, and just some basic information about it also that you may not know. And I think it's interesting to know that as we continue to grow and continue to diversify, it's important for our community to know what we look like and what's going on. So let me share some of that with you, if you don't mind, please. So first off, I'd like to share out that the good news, and it kind of piggybacks on what Eric was sharing about high academic expectation. It is an expectation in our community that we have high academic success, and we continue to reach that, where our composite ACT score is 22.4, and that's of school districts that give their students, 100% of their students, the ACT exam. We do that. It was mandated back in 2017 and 2018 with the state. The state no longer funded it, but we feel like that's important for students to have access in the future, because they don't always know what they want to do right after high school, and you need that ACT test many times, and we don't want them to have to go back and get that again. And so we're very, very pleased with that. And it's amazing that we've been able to do that in spite of the pandemic last year. So that's our scores that just came in. So we're very excited about that from last year. Very excited about that. We did have 5 perfect ACT scores, which is an amazing thing in itself that you would have that. You will notice 2 of them look a little bit alike. That is twins, bless their hearts, that both scored perfect. Can't imagine the competition in that household as it goes forward. I think it's amazing. I'm also very proud of the young lady that's up there. She is a sophomore at Parkville South. And so I'm excited to see the future for her. And can she get 3 perfect scores in a row? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But we just have amazing students also. We're very proud of that. We also check with our community and what it would be like for them, and with our parents. And 91% members of our community were likely to recommend Park Hill to them on our annual phone survey that we do. And that's such an important piece, because that talks about your brand. How do people view you, and how do they view what they're doing within your business and your organization? And while we are in the education business, we are a business. It's an interesting business because we are in the people business. And so we're excited about that our people believe in us, and they do tell our story. And I think that's incredibly important, and I appreciate it. I'd also like to point out, if you don't mind, on the next slide, that both Park Hill and Park Hill South rank in the top 20 of the U.S. News and World Report. And that's based on our AP exams that we give, and that process, again, talking about our high academics. Once again, on the high academics would be our next slide, where we did have 15 National Merit finalists and semifinalists and commended scholars this past year. Just a wonderful number, and just a wonderful opportunity for these students and for their future. And we're glad that we can meet them and be at that place. Besides wonderful academics, the other thing that we do that I think is incredibly important to our taxpayers and to our patrons is to be financially responsible and good just stewards of the taxpayer dollars that we are given. For 13 years in a row, we have been awarded the Meritorious Budget Award. And just a little bit about that recognition, it's more than just what does your budget look like, but it requires us to do projections 3 years out, 5 years out, and 7 years out. And if you look on our district website, you can find our demographic profile that we do on a yearly basis. By combining that with our financial scorecards that we use, we're actually able to predict out where we're going to be, how we're going to be using that money in the future, and what those tax dollars will be spent for. And so we're very excited about that, and we think it's an important piece. Another important piece is just taking good care of this again. And last fall, we were able to refund. In the school world, it's called refunding instead of refinancing. So just like refinancing on your house, we were able to refund some bonds on Tiffany Ridge Elementary School. They were callable, and we could refund those because the interest rates were just so good. You're watching the housing market or anything else right now, it is hot, hot, hot because of that. And by doing that, we've saved our taxpayers $4.3 million over the next 10 years of the life of that loan. And those are the types of steps that I think are just critically important to take care of what we've got. And we always want to do that. One of the things that we talk about also is just that we do have high achievement and low tax rates. And people kind of they're like going, really, how do you know and how do you compare that? And so I'll give you, in the Northland, I think the big three schools are, of course, Parkville, they're North Kansas City, and they are Liberty as you go across there. And we're doing that. And so we do have the lowest rates. We have one of the lowest rates that are out there. For example, our total tax levy for Park Hill is $5.3955. If you're in North Kansas City, it's $6.20. And if you're in Liberty, it's $6.45. And so we really feel like we are trying to give the very best bang for the buck and getting the most out of every dollar that our taxpayers provide to us. And we want to be good stewards of that, and we think it's incredibly important. We are planning for the fall, and it seems like we're planning for it differently every day. I'll just be very frank with you. It has been a very interesting and fascinating last 18 months. And I think it has been that way for the schools, but I know it has been for our families, and it has been for each of you in your work or whatever it is that you're doing. Our lives have just been kind of upside down a little bit with COVID. I think a lot of us thought a lot of this was hopefully going to be in our rearview mirror. And unfortunately, that's not the case that we have right now. But as we plan for the fall, we do offer our students in-person learning, and we do have a full online program that we offer our students as we prepare for the fall. And so we want to take care of that and do the very best we can. We're also continuing to work with our health departments and following those different mandates. And as you saw today, CDC put out a different recommendation. And I think the thing that I would talk about the most is that in that area, those are recommendations. Those are not mandates. And so a recommendation is a little bit different. We are strongly recommending mask wearing. I'll go ahead and talk about that since I've got my mask with me tonight. I'll just talk about that. It will be fully recommended, strongly recommended, based on what the CDC just shared today. Do I think that could change in the future days? Yes. I have learned over this past 18 months, and I bet you have too, that literally 1 week of COVID feels like a month, and what changes in a month is like a year. And so we will continue to ride this, but I have confidence in a community. Somebody asked me once, they said, how are people dealing with this, and how are they working, and even how are they visiting with you about it? And I said, here's the coolest thing about Park Hill. We don't always have to agree, but we always do it in a professional and a respectful manner, and I appreciate that about our community, and I really do mean that. The other piece that is important to us is, as we talk about this, is just our enrollment history. And I think this is fascinating. This is really unusual for a school district. And so if you go back to where we were until last year, we were at 37 years in a row of 1.5% to 2% growth each year, which is astounding. It makes us look like geniuses sometimes on how you plan, but with such steady growth, because what you normally see is these spikes of growth of housing and then back and forth. And we have been very blessed to have that steady growth. Last year we were just flat last year because of COVID. I believe a lot of families kept kindergartners home. And so it'll be interesting to see this fall when we start on August the 23rd, what that will look like. And so that's an important piece. The other part that's important is just to know, who are we? What does Park Hill look like? I think there's a lot of conceptions about what they think the Park Hill School District looks like. But where we are in 2020 and 2021 at our population, our white population was at 66%. Our Black population was at 12, Hispanic at 10. And then multiracial is our fastest growing group. It is the multiracial group at 6%. And then we have 3% Asian and 1.2% of our island Pacific. And I don't believe that's what people think about when they think about the Park Hill School District. And that really leads me to the next slide. And so we did make some changes, and we've had a lot of conversation around access, inclusion, and family engagement. And another big point for us is removing barriers to opportunities for all of our students. The Park Hill School District does not use any course fees. So you may remember from your high school days, or where your child may be going, is you had to go pay for art class if you want to be in art class, or you had to pay for foods or clothing, those type of things. Those are all taken care of within our district, because we don't want that to be a barrier that would keep a student from finding their full potential. We also provide transportation for our professional studies programs. We want our students to be able to have those lifetime experiences, because we know if they can have them now, it sets them up for success in the future. And so a big part of that is just, how do you allow access and inclusion for all of our students? And also, even this past year was great, because on Zoom, for example, there were some things that you may like about Zoom or you may not like about Zoom, but one of the cool parts really was with our PTAs. I'm going to brag on them. They did such an incredible job And by using Zoom, they were able to include more families and provide that. And we want to continue that and improve our family engagement. So we have a new director that's going to oversee our access and inclusion and family engagement to making sure that we are removing barriers for all students, because I don't know a single parent that doesn't want the very best for their child. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that because we believe that's what Parkville is. And so I tried to get that as quickly as I could. I think we hit it. I hope we did. But we are so proud to be a part of this community. And we just thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Excellent.